In the Republic of Berg, a faun named Agrius committed the unimaginable. He brutally assaulted a nobleman and had an illicit affair with a noblewoman. These crimes alone are enough to ensure Agrius never sees redemption, but Ezra never imagined that his own sister would point a gun directly at him. This is Season 2 of Carnival Row, where the intensity escalates, and the stakes shift toward national and political confrontations. Terrifying new magic emerges, while a secret conspiracy, years in the making, threatens the very coexistence of human cities and Fey races. After seriously injuring Ezra, Lady Imogen and Agrius flee aboard the Swan, a ship jointly funded by Agrius and Ezra himself. Ezra is utterly humiliated by his sister's betrayal in Berg's aristocratic circles. With the Swan gone, Ezra's final chance for a comeback vanishes forever. Meanwhile, Imogen and Agrius sail toward a fresh start in a new city, but disaster strikes unexpectedly. Two cannon shots from a packed airship signal the Swan to follow their lead. They're taken to a city within packed territory. The heavily guarded gates and surrounding ruins suggest this place has endured brutal conflict. Sure enough, after Agrius and the crew step ashore, they discover the city is no longer under Pact control. It's been seized by a rebel group. The Pact has temporarily halted hostilities with Berg to focus on internal turmoil. A soldier hands the captain a note, and Imogen is promptly separated from the group. Agrius is left behind, forced to watch helplessly as his wealth aboard the ship is unloaded and counted. He tries to leverage his connection to a local count he once did business with. Yet, to his shock, the captain informs him there are no longer counts or wealthy elite here. All noble properties are to be redistributed. Agrius feels deep anguish, watching as the fortune he painstakingly built is stripped away piece by piece. But worse news follows. When the captain uncovers Agrius' dark past, that his fortune originated from selling his own kind as indentured servants, he immediately orders Agrius and his crew arrested. Meanwhile, as Imogen is escorted through the city streets, she notices something astonishing: harmony and prosperity. Humans and Fey live peacefully side by side, and interracial romances here are not met with judgment. Isn't this exactly the kind of life Imogen and Agrius dreamed of? But Imogen remains unaware that behind this idyllic facade lurks a terrifying reality. Soon, she's brought before a simply dressed faun woman. At the same time, Agrius and his crew are taken to the foot of the city walls. Agrius never imagined that in an advanced age of steam and industry, these people would execute prisoners without trial, their sole crime being rich or noble. Capitalists who once oppressed the poor must face immediate execution. Just as Agrius braces himself for the worst, a messenger rushes in with an order from the rebel leader, sparing his life. Imogen discovers that the humble faun she met is none other than Leonora, the leader of the revolutionary group New Dawn. During their conversation, Leonora is moved by the revelation that a noblewoman truly loves a faun. Reminiscent of her own past, Leonora had once loved a human, a relationship destroyed by society's harsh judgment. That painful experience motivated her to lead this revolution. She offers Imogen and Agrius a home in the city, an invitation they cannot refuse. The following day, a man identifying himself as a district leader assigns them labor duties. Here, everyone, regardless of status, must earn their meals through work. Even under these circumstances, Agrius maintains his dignified appearance. Unable to shed his noble identity, Agrius removes his elegant suit, attempting double the work so that Imogen, who's never worked a day in her life, can rest nearby. Yet, when lunchtime comes, those who don't work receive no food. Imogen, accustomed to privilege, must set aside her pride and learn to labor. Despite their struggles, returning home after each day's toil, the couple finds simple happiness. Yet Agrius struggles to accept this lifestyle. With his extraordinary talents and skills, losing his fortune doesn't frighten him. He believes he can rebuild his empire in no time. But under the New Dawn's regime, he's destined to remain a laborer forever. Meanwhile, inspired by Leonora, Imogen begins to cherish this modest life. For Imogen, status and wealth are meaningless if she can remain by Agrius' side. Yet soon, choices will no longer be theirs to make. One day, Leonora receives secret intelligence from a Berg aristocrat attending a banquet at the Chancellor's residence. The Pact is visiting Berg, secretly negotiating an arms purchase to crush the New Dawn rebellion, and the noble who delivered this critical information is none other than Ezra himself. After obtaining leads from Agrius' former human servant, Ezra tracked them here. Now, having proven his worth through intelligence, he gains Leonora's trust. Back in Berg, tensions intensify as Fey citizens remain trapped in the overcrowded Carnival Row district. Shortages of food and space escalate conflicts between humans and Fey. Meanwhile, Rycroft and Vignette face fresh challenges and dilemmas, for fawns are accused of conspiring to assassinate the former Chancellor. Behind this plot lies a shadowy figure known only as the Shadow, the true mastermind pulling the strings. These four fawns are merely scapegoats. New Chancellor Jonah addresses an enraged crowd. The late Chancellor dedicated himself to creating a harmonious society between humans and Fae, granting unprecedented freedoms and status to the Fae. Yet, tragically, this kindness was repaid with betrayal. Jonah declares that from this moment onward, the Fae must be harshly suppressed. They'll remain confined within Carnival Row until every member of the Shadow Organization is destroyed. As soon as he finishes speaking, the four fawns accused of conspiracy meet their end on the executioner's block. Jonah's fiery and passionate speech receives unprecedented support from the gathered crowd. But behind this stirring speech is none other than Sophie carefully orchestrating every detail. Why is Sophie deliberately escalating tensions between humans and Fae? In truth, a shocking conspiracy lurks beneath her every move. Meanwhile, Rycroft, our main protagonist, is fighting three Fae fighters in an underground boxing ring. After defeating them, he refuses to take the prize money from the Minotaur who runs the black market. Instead, he asks the Minotaur for help rescuing someone important, Darius, who's been turned into a werewolf. At this moment, every Fae in Berg is trapped inside Carnival Row. The filthy, overcrowded environment has sparked a deadly plague among the fairies. To help ease the suffering, Vignette and members of the Black Raven organization daringly hijack a military shipment, stealing much-needed painkillers. But in the face of such a devastating outbreak, this small act provides only minor relief. Even the wife of Sparrow, deputy leader of the Black Raven, has become infected. Elsewhere, Vignette's close friend Tourmaline, forced to inherit dark magic after witnessing the Dark Witch's demise, now suffers from strange visions. Lately, Tourmaline often experiences out-of-body moments, unconsciously slaughtering small animals and inspecting their entrails to glimpse the future. This time, she sees Rycroft fighting a terrifying, bat-like monster. Meanwhile, Rycroft is secretly meeting with Runyon, advisor to the Chancellor. Rycroft intends to publicly declare himself as the illegitimate son of the late Chancellor during the upcoming banquet, welcoming diplomats from the Pact. According to Berg's law, this revelation would make him eligible as interim Chancellor. Even if Parliament ultimately denies him the position, this move will significantly influence the upcoming elections. Runyon agrees to help smuggle Rycroft into the banquet, though this mission is fraught with risk. Given his mixed heritage, Rycroft could easily end up in prison for life. The night before the banquet, an old colleague suddenly approaches Rycroft. A strange murder has occurred recently. On the military train hijacked by Vignette, one of the officers guarding it was mysteriously killed, his body strung high atop a pole. The police immediately suspect the Black Raven fairies, but the colleague senses something isn't right. If fairies did it, why leave such obvious clues pointing toward them? He asks Rycroft to help him uncover the truth. The next day, diplomats from the Pact arrive as planned. Ezra attends this banquet, discovering that the Pact seeks to purchase weapons from Berg to defeat the New Dawn Rebellion. The Pact's advantages lie in their advanced airships and serums that turn men into werewolves. Berg, on the other hand, excels in industrial technology and weapons manufacturing. Just as Rycroft prepares to publicly reveal his secret at the banquet, chaos erupts. The leader of the Black Raven and Sparrow burst into the hall, carrying Sparrow's wife, visibly suffering from the plague. Their intention is clear: force the government and elites to witness firsthand the horrors unfolding within Carnival Row, hoping that her desperate condition would pressure authorities into reopening the district. But tragedy strikes again. A police officer known for his animosity towards fairies unexpectedly shoots Sparrow's wife dead. Amidst the ensuing chaos, the fairies scatter in panic. Simultaneously, Tourmaline's consciousness drifts again. This time, she foresees the deaths of the Black Raven leader and another prominent member. As predicted, shortly afterward, their severed heads and wings appear gruesomely displayed on Carnival Row's blockade wall. Many police officers openly mock and relish this horrific sight. The murder of the Black Raven's leader sends shockwaves through Carnival Row. The Fae are convinced human police executed their leader publicly as an act of revenge. Rycroft urgently needs to identify the true culprit before the conflict escalates, threatening the Fae's already fragile existence. Sure enough, discussions of retaliation are already underway among the Black Raven, led by Vignette. Meanwhile, immediately following the Pact banquet, Sophie urgently seeks out Jonah. She sees a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity unfolding before them. Both Jonah and Sophie have only temporarily inherited their leadership roles, and with elections approaching, they're certain to be replaced due to lack of experience. However, Wartime leadership is rarely changed. Sophie convinces Jonah to agree to the Pact's request, selling them weapons, effectively pulling Berg into war. Jonah wonders aloud, if the Pact crushes the New Dawn, won't they then turn their weapons against Berg? Sophie reassures him that if Berg simultaneously arms the New Dawn rebels, both sides will reach a stalemate, allowing Berg's military to reclaim lost territories. Jonah, impressed yet cautious, realizes how cunning and dangerous Sophie truly is. Could Sophie genuinely be going to such lengths to assist Jonah? Clearly, a sinister motive lies behind her every move. After leaving Jonah, Sophie secretly meets with someone, her childhood fawn servant, hidden away in the attic. They've been scheming in secret. During their meeting, Sophie takes all the money left by her father. She then invites key opposition parliamentarians for a private discussion. Recently, these politicians have faced major setbacks. Carnival Row's closure means their factories and steelworks, deprived of cheap Fey labor, have ground to a halt. Sophie offers a tempting solution. She proposes purchasing significant shares in their struggling factories at rock-bottom prices. If they accept, she promises to persuade the Chancellor to sell weapons to the Pact. This massive military order would force factories into overdrive, compelling the Chancellor to allow skilled Fey workers to return temporarily to the workforce. Facing such a lucrative proposal, all the parliamentarians eagerly sign the agreement, and soon enough, Sophie's predictions come true. The Chancellor agrees to the weapons deal and releases skilled Fey workers from Carnival Row. From the beginning, Sophie had deliberately fueled human-Fey conflicts, aiming to lower factory prices and purchase shares cheaply. Now, with Carnival Row reopened, she stands to make an enormous profit. The Pact's visit rapidly accelerated Jonah's secret plans. Meanwhile, Sophie and her fawn made use their newly amassed fortune to bribe influential members of parliament. Their aim, to overthrow Jonah in the upcoming election, secure the Chancellor's seat for herself, and ultimately achieve their secret ambition. At the same time, Rycroft, stuck with the unsolved murders in Carnival Row, is approached by Tourmaline. She reveals everything that's happened to her lately, including the visions that predicted the Black Raven leader's death. Sure enough, at the clock tower location indicated by Tourmaline's visions, they discover the Black Raven leader's body. Rycroft cuts open the victim's abdomen, urging Tourmaline to perform another divination, hoping to uncover the monster's next target. Tourmaline sees into the future, Carnival Row engulfed in chaos, humans violently battling the Fae, and the winged, bat-like creature directly confronts Tourmaline herself. She is the next victim. When Rycroft returns, he learns of Vignette and the Black Raven's plan for revenge. They intend to assassinate a police officer as a harsh warning to the humans. Rycroft desperately tries to stop them, assuring he's close to uncovering the real killer. But Vignette and the others refuse to listen, convinced Rycroft has taken the human side. Rycroft realizes that if Vignette kills Officer Dombey, Carnival Row will descend into the horrific chaos seen in Tourmaline's visions, so he secretly takes Darius to Dombey's home to protect him. Dombey is confused, unable to believe his enemy would protect him, but he has no time to argue, because Vignette, Sparrow, and their comrades are already outside his door. Rycroft and Darius fight to protect Dombey, eventually escorting him safely to the police station. After an intense clash with Sparrow, furious, Vignette flees before backup arrives. Now, Dombey knows Vignette tried to assassinate him. As Rycroft predicted, human police wouldn't back down after threats or killings. Instead, they retaliate even more violently. Police aggressively raid Carnival Row, determined to capture Vignette. Seeing her fellow Fae brutally attacked, Vignette bravely steps forward and surrenders herself. Elsewhere, another woman is facing imminent danger. The late Chancellor's senior advisor hands Jonah a secret file, exposing Sophie's deliberate manipulation, how she created unrest, bought factory shares cheaply, and used the profits to secretly bribe parliament members. Jonah finally realizes that Sophie wasn't just using him, she intended to drag him down as well. Shortly afterward, before Sophie can even change her clothes, secret police arrive and arrest her for treason. Barely having exchanged a few words, Jonah appears before her. He gives Sophie one chance: sign a confession admitting guilt, surrender her assets and power, and he'll spare her life. Sophie refuses. These things mean more to her than life itself. Selling weapons to foreign enemies, plotting to control Berg, the Chancellor is legally entitled to immediately execute traitors. Vignette and Sophie are swiftly brought to the execution grounds. Without hesitation or ceremony, Sophie is cleanly executed on the spot. Meanwhile, outside the prison, Rycroft disguises himself as a police officer, pretending he's delivering a captured Black Raven member. This, of course, is his and Sparrow's daring plan to rescue Vignette. Yet at this very moment, Vignette has already been taken to the guillotine. Meanwhile, Agrius finally understands that resisting his new life in the revolutionary city could cost him dearly. He begins pretending to blend in, addressing everyone as comrade. He even wears the district leader's political manifesto close to his heart, acting as if he truly values it. Yet secretly, during his daily tasks, Agrius constantly plots his escape. Eventually, he finds an opportunity meeting someone who claims they can help him escape. Agrius promises the man a hefty reward once they're free, but immediately after their conversation, the black uniformed guard sees Agrius. He's taken directly to Leonora, who silently hands him a revolver. While Agrius stands there confused, Leonora's guards drag in Ezra. Ezra initially planned to use the stolen intelligence to earn New Dawn's favor, eliminate Agrius, and reclaim his sister, but he never imagined Leonora already knew everything. Even worse, the people here despise nobles like him the most. If Ezra had read Leonora's manifesto, he'd know her hatred stemmed from her time as a servant in prison merely for eating leftover scraps from a noble's table. That's where Leonora wrote her revolutionary theories, igniting this uprising. Normally, nobles like Ezra would be executed swiftly, but Leonora, valuing Agrius and Imogen, purposely leaves Ezra's fate to Agrius. Yet Agrius can't bring himself to shoot Ezra, instead persuading Leonora that if he himself could reform into a comrade, so could Ezra. Thus, Ezra narrowly escapes death. When Imogen hears this, she sarcastically praises Ezra's brilliant plan. Now, Agrius' escape plan must include this unwanted burden. One day, while the city celebrates joyously, Agrius, Imogen, Ezra, and their new ally prepare their escape, but an urgent alarm interrupts them. The Pact, now armed by Berg, launches a massive attack on the city, forcing them all onto the battlefield. They're handed rifles and thrust directly into combat. Barely into the fight, their guide is instantly killed. Agrius, Imogen, and Ezra flee into a basement for cover, but enemy soldiers quickly discover their hiding spot. In a critical moment, Imogen grabs a rifle lodged under a cabinet, passing it to Agrius, who shoots the attacking werewolf soldier. The three narrowly escape the battlefield. Behind them, the city burns as Pact forces launch their full-scale assault, determined to annihilate the New Dawn rebels. While trekking inland, Ezra and Imogen start arguing again. Ezra cruelly exposes his sister's secret to Agrius. He asks, "Do you know why Imogen, despite her youth and beauty, never attracted suitors? Because she was promiscuous, earning herself a terrible reputation in Berg. No nobleman wanted her." Why was Imogen so excited when Agrius moved in? Because finally, someone had arrived who knew nothing of her tarnished reputation. Humiliated, Imogen becomes deeply upset. To comfort her, Agrius shares a dark secret of his own. When Agrius was still an indentured servant, several workers escaped one night. The next morning, their supervisor offered 20,000 gold coins and immediate freedom to anyone willing to reveal the escapees' location. Without hesitation, Agrius betrayed them. At first, Imogen understands selfishness is acceptable if it means survival, but as Agrius continues his story, she grows increasingly disturbed. After tasting wealth and freedom, Agrius became dissatisfied. He wanted more freedom to accumulate limitless wealth. Agrius began helping humans track down escaped Fey laborers. Sometimes, during these pursuits, innocent Fey were accidentally killed. Agrius excelled at this, rapidly accumulating a vast fortune. For his own freedom, he willingly sacrificed the freedom of his own people. Before Imogen could even process her shock, a group of Pact soldiers appeared, marching down the road nearby. Ezra immediately thought of surrendering, believing the Pact would spare him since Berg was currently their ally. But Agrius knocked him to the ground. Ezra struggled desperately, attempting to shout for help. Imogen rushed forward and covered Ezra's mouth, knowing that Pact soldiers would never spare a fawn like Agrius. Desperate to silence Ezra's cries, Imogen blocked his nose, holding him until her brother stopped moving and was forever silenced. As the Pact soldiers passed by without noticing, Imogen succeeded in protecting her beloved, but Ezra's death awakened something within her. Imogen once believed breaking societal norms and freely loving Agrius was romantic. Only now did she realize how love had controlled her, leading her to do something so horrific. After hearing Agrius's troubling past, she resolved to finally wake up, to live for herself and never again be blinded by love. As they argued, revolutionary soldiers found them. Soon, among piles of corpses in a mass grave, they came face to face with Leonora. This, Leonora explained, is the cost of revolution. She described revolution as a hurricane, destroying everything in its path. Even when victorious, all one could do was celebrate atop ruins. New Dawn had just repelled the Pact's last army. Soon, the Pact would cease to exist altogether. Leonora also explained why she treated Imogen and Agrius differently. She needed them as New Dawn's representatives to return to Berg and bear witness firsthand to the revolution's brutal aftermath. If Berg didn't want this violent storm to cross their borders, they would need to agree to a peace treaty with New Dawn. This would also mean recognizing their revolutionary government officially. Soon, Imogen and Agrius were sent back to Berg as New Dawn's envoys. Runyon and 2 other Berg ministers met them outside the official building, unwilling to formally recognize New Dawn. After hearing the peace treaty terms from Imogen including halting weapons, sales to the Pact, the ministers insisted the Berg parliament would never agree. But Imogen invoked her special privilege. The reason Leonora chose Imogen as an envoy was Berg law nobility had the right to propose and vote on issues related to national security. Clearly, after witnessing revolution's horrors firsthand, Imogen wished to spare her homeland from experiencing the same fate. Meanwhile, news spread through Carnival Row that the Pact army had withdrawn from Ternanock, the Fey homeland, due to their war against New Dawn. This meant Ternanock was finally liberated. Rycroft immediately began planning how to help Fey return home. A group of fairies approached the docks, holding firebombs, where many Fey waited to board ships bound for Ternanock. When Rycroft heard about Ternanock's liberation, he quickly arranged a meeting with Runyon, claiming he had clues on Phaedra's whereabouts. In truth, Rycroft wanted Runyon to convince the Chancellor to arrange cargo ships to return the Fey to Ternanock. Runyon soon successfully persuaded the Chancellor. Excited Fey prepared to return home, including Vignette, who, after twice narrowly escaping death, had decided to leave the Black Raven behind. Now, all she wanted was a peaceful life. But Vignette didn't anticipate the Black Raven allying with Phaedra, destroying their hope of returning home. Rycroft's friend, one of the few honorable policemen left in Berg, was brutally murdered by Phaedra right in front of Rycroft's eyes. Seeing his friend's lifeless body in the horrific aftermath, Rycroft, who initially wasn't planning to investigate Phaedra, finally changed his mind. While clearing the battlefield, they discovered bodies of several Berg Marines. Rycroft immediately understood the grim truth. Runyon arrived at the scene later that night, visibly devastated by the soldiers' deaths. Rycroft appeared behind him. These soldiers had secretly hidden aboard the cargo ships, preparing to serve as Berg's first wave of attack to retake Ternanock. Berg Parliament saw this as a perfect opportunity to reclaim Ternanock, formerly a colony of Berg. How else could Runyon secure 2 cargo ships so quickly? He had proposed this secret plan himself. It was an act of desperation. Compared to overcrowded Carnival Row, Ternanock was a much better colony. Faced with 2 evils, he chose the lesser one. They reasoned that Phaedra had deliberately inflamed tensions between Fey and humans, who benefited most from this chaos. And it happened right after New Dawn sent envoys to Berg. They concluded New Dawn was behind this attack. Elsewhere, an enraged Vignette confronted Sparrow, demanding to know why she ruined the Fairies' chance to return home. During the struggle, Vignette was knocked unconscious and tied up. Shockingly, Leonora herself arrived in Berg. They revealed to Vignette the hidden plot behind Parliament's decision to send Fey home. Now, the Black Raven and Leonora had united to liberate Carnival Row. They also had a powerful ally, Phaedra. They wanted Vignette to join their cause. After Leonora's persistent persuasion, Vignette began considering it. Meanwhile, Imogen became furious upon hearing about the attack on the docks, accusing New Dawn of deception and refusing to address Parliament. Suddenly, Runyon burst into the room accompanied by police officers, arresting all 3 of them on charges of treason and murder. Imogen desperately warned Runyon of New Dawn's brutality. To force Berg to recognize their regime, they might resort to terrorism. Agrius pleaded with the Chancellor to contact their hidden comrades in Carnival Row to halt further attacks and earn Parliament's trust. He warned that peace wouldn't come unless violence stopped immediately. After careful consideration, the Chancellor agreed, handing Agrius a note containing a secret message. Upon entering Carnival Row, Agrius was swiftly brought to Leonora by the Black Raven. However, after reading the note, Leonora immediately ordered Agrius restrained. The coded message wasn't about peace. It revealed that Imogen refused to represent New Dawn in Parliament. The next day, Imogen received a gift from Leonora, one of Agrius's broken horns. At the same time, Leonora's assault began. First, she sent Vignette, Sparrow, and another accomplice to attack a popular human bar. During the violent attack, the surviving police officers identified Vignette and Sparrow. This assault completely ignited the fury of humanity. An angry mob gathered outside Carnival Row's gates, demanding that the police let them enter. Unbeknownst to them, inside Carnival Row, Leonora and her followers were plotting how to trap and eliminate every last one of them. Leonora proposed allowing the mob to rush into the narrow alley leading to the bar, where they could be surrounded and defeated from both ends. No one outside knew that New Dawn had secretly smuggled weapons into Carnival Row, but Vignette immediately objected to this plan. Allowing the mob to storm toward the bar would inevitably cause numerous Fey deaths, but Leonora coldly reminded her that revolution always comes at a price. Sacrifice is inevitable. This ruthless mindset was typical of Leonora. Vignette volunteered herself as bait, willing to lead the humans to the central square instead. The square provided a better ambush site, and moreover, Morn, leader of the human gang, knew Vignette had participated in the attack. As soon as she appeared, she'd immediately become their prime target. Yet none of them realized Leonora's true intentions. This entire operation was merely a distraction to aid Phaedra in completing a far more sinister mission. Meanwhile, Rycroft had recovered one of Phaedra's teeth from a man's body and brought it to Tourmaline. He knew of a forbidden dark magic that, using a piece of someone's body, allowed the caster to enter their consciousness. Tourmaline prepared everything, plunging her hands into boiling blood mixed with Phaedra's tooth. Her consciousness immediately connected with Phaedra's mind. Shockingly, Phaedra's true identity turned out to be the Pact Ambassador. At that moment, the ambassador was on his way to Parliament for the council meeting at the Chancellor's palace. Rycroft quickly pieced together Phaedra's true intentions. The purpose behind sending Imogen to Parliament wasn't for peace talks or to secure recognition of New Dawn's government. Instead, it was to give Phaedra the ambassador a chance to enter Parliament. With New Dawn's representatives speaking, the Pact Ambassador would inevitably be invited. That meant placing every influential leader of Berg in a single room. The disastrous outcome was easy to imagine. The chaos in Carnival Row, orchestrated by Leonora, was simply designed to draw police attention away, giving Phaedra the chance to strike. Meanwhile, in the hall, Runyon, the ambassador, Major Veer, and Imogen awaited Parliament's opening. Outside Carnival Row, Morn and the enraged human mob pressured police to open the gates. Vignette successfully drew police attention, leading the mob straight into the square. Just before Parliament began, Rycroft burst into the waiting room, urgently warning Runyon that the ambassador was Phaedra, demanding immediate reinforcements. But Runyon's terrified expression instantly revealed to the ambassador that his cover was blown. Transformed into his monstrous form, the ambassador ignored Rycroft and charged toward Parliament's main entrance. Rycroft barely intercepted him from another doorway, tackling him just before he breached the council chamber. Terrified parliamentarians hurriedly barricaded the door. Blocked from entering, Phaedra immediately turned his rage toward Rycroft. But at that crucial moment, Tourmaline invaded Phaedra's mind again, prompting Phaedra to realize she must be eliminated first. Vignette, hiding in the square awaiting Leonora's signal, saw Phaedra fly overhead and instantly knew Tourmaline was involved in Rycroft's plan. Vignette immediately understood Phaedra was after Tourmaline and tried to rush to her friend's aid. But Sparrow stopped Vignette, knowing if she left, the human mob would leave the square too, ruining the ambush. Their argument attracted unwanted attention. From above, Leonora saw this chaos unfolding and pointed her gun directly at Vignette. Hearing the gunshot, the hidden rebels began attacking the humans trapped in the square. Meanwhile, Phaedra had reached Tourmaline. In desperation, Darius bravely attacked Phaedra but was quickly defeated and mortally wounded. Tourmaline struggled to maintain her magic, invading Phaedra's mind once more. Just as her strength began failing, Vignette arrived carrying a blazing torch. But a mere torch wouldn't defeat Phaedra. At last, Rycroft returned to face the monster. After a fierce struggle, Rycroft emerged victorious but at the heavy cost of losing his dear friend, Darius. Dragging Phaedra's body into the square, Rycroft forced Leonora to realize her plan had failed, ordering an immediate retreat. As Leonora fled down an alley, Agrius, who had escaped by killing his guard during the chaos, was already waiting there. Instead of taking revenge himself, Agrius chose to let the police capture Leonora. Yet Leonora chose to end things her own way. A large police force stormed into the square, and Rycroft finally restored peace to Carnival Row. But this peace was temporary, for prejudice still thrived in the hearts of many humans. Still, Rycroft's heroic actions had begun changing some of those hearts, opening minds that once harbored hatred. Despite everything, Rycroft survived. Several months later, he slowly limped into Parliament's main hall, now considered a hero who saved the nation's elite. And with the revelation of his identity as the late Chancellor's eldest son, Rycroft was nominated to become the new Chancellor. But Rycroft clearly understood Parliament had only nominated him due to his half-human heritage and upbringing within human education. Their prejudices remained deeply rooted. Rycroft declared boldly to Parliament that if Berg truly wanted a better future free from further infiltration by New Dawn, they must appoint a pure-blooded Fae as Chancellor. Only then could genuine change occur. Finishing his speech, Rycroft walked away without hesitation. Meanwhile, Vignette and Tourmalin finally returned to Turnanok, their homeland. After countless trials and hardships, Vignette now clearly understood where she truly belonged. I'm a movie enthusiast. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.